Hey everybody, Derek here back again with another BareBones episode for you. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about this book, Lightfall, which was written by Ed Crocker and is the first book in the Everlands series, saga, trilogy. I'm not sure how many there's going to be. Not sure if that information is out there yet, but I just finished this book a couple days ago and wanted to talk a little bit about it, let you know what I think. So first off, thank you everybody for listening to these. These episodes are doing better than I expected them to do as far as like numbers of views and that type of thing. So that's always fun. I appreciate that. I hope you guys like the content. I'm already working on the next book that I'm going to be doing. Started that and a few chapters into it, but back to this book, Lightfall. This is a vampire book. I don't think I've ever read a book that's been vampire focused. Maybe there's been some vampires in there, but they've not been like the main focus. And usually as I go through reading books, I'll start a Google Doc and just jot things down that I like. Maybe it's quotes, that a character says, a scene, something like that. And I did that with this book as well, but I think I only put like one thing in there. I don't think the book was bad or anything like that. It just, there wasn't a lot that really, I guess, stuck out or impacted me where I wanted to make sure I didn't forget it. But as far as this book, so we've got your main character. There's a few different main characters, but probably the one we follow the most is Sam. And she is a Warren, as they are called. So these vampires, they live in a caste system, it appears. So the bottom tier are the Warrens, the poorest ones, and then you have, I think they're called the mids or the midways, if I remember correctly, and then you've got the top tier, the lords, the high lords who run the show. Sam is a maid or a room cleaner. That's what she does pretty much every day, but she sneaks away to the library quite a bit to do a lot of reading. And as vampires are immortal unless some sort of accident befalls them, she gets to read a lot. Things kind of kick off here when another character is killed. I don't know that it was murder, kind of. I don't want to give too much away, but there's a character who doesn't have a significant amount of page time that kind of kicks things off and turns into this big whodunit, this mystery to figure out what is going on with the vampires. There's 5 or 6 main cities in the continent. They've been ravaged by this enemy that they don't really know anything about. It's almost like they're stuck in their cities. It's very dangerous to travel outside the cities for fear of this enemy. That is a pretty big focus of the book. One thing I thought that was interesting is the vampires, so they drink blood like any other vampires I've like watched on TV or in a movie, but it doesn't seem so much that they go out and are feeding like on some sort of animal or anything like that, but they have a supply, but they get their blood from like other animals. And it was neat because depending on the animal would kind of determine like the strength of the blood, the abilities it would give you when the vampire drank the blood. They could alter it with magic. They would age it like I guess a whiskey or a wine or something like that to make things more potent. And the strongest one is blood of a werewolf, which they kind of have a deal worked out with the vampires to supply them with blood in exchange for things. So there are not humans in this story per se. I didn't, I guess, like the vampires, there's vampires, there's werewolves, just mentioned, and they can change forms between wolf and humanoid, human-like, whatever term you want to use. And then there's sorcerers as well. And they're all human-like. I didn't ever really see them anything other than human as I was reading, except for the werewolves when they would change into a wolf. One of the werewolves, really the kind of the only one we get here, was probably my favorite character in the book. The way she talked, just her point of view, I enjoyed a lot. It was a lot of fun to read. This book is written in first person point of view, which is one traditionally that I struggle with quite a bit. And generally, I don't like those types of books, but I think for me, honestly, in this book, it was a pretty big strength. I don't know how well it would have worked if it was in like third person point of view or anything like that. So I did enjoy that, and I feel like I've kind of broken through that where it's not so much a barrier for me now, where I'm really going to struggle to read that type of book anymore. I didn't really jot anything down ahead of time for talking about this book, so if it seems a little disjointed, it seems a little bit all over the place, it's because it is. I maybe should be a little bit more organized, but I like to keep it organic and just off the top of my head. Another one of my favorite things is, like I had said, you get the different animal bloods. And I wondered how they get these because they talk about having like whale blood. Do they got ships out there harpooning whales, stuff like that to harvest whale blood? And I felt like another thing that I really enjoyed was we're on this main continent, but there is another continent that we don't really see. You hear about it, and there's a city there. And it reminded me a lot of Game of Thrones in a place that we really don't see. You only hear about it, and even then, it's kind of in the extended material. I can't think of the term right now, but not in like the main series, but the city that's in South Oreos. It's very mysterious, and I like that a lot. This book, I felt like there was a lot of ups and downs with it, very roller coaster like. And so, like the beginning, it started out pretty quick, and then it kind of leveled out a little bit. And at times, I felt like it drug on a little bit, and then the end, it definitely picked up again. I don't want to say I was bored reading it. I wanted to continue reading it, but it just wasn't. I didn't always feel maybe as engaged as I would have liked to. I know I had seen some people online say that this was their book of the year, that type of thing. I don't think it was bad, but it won't make that mark for me. I enjoyed it, and I would read the next book in the series whenever that comes out. There's enough intrigue there for me to want to know what's going to happen next. Where is the story going? How is it going to progress? How is it going to resolve? Because we kind of do get left with a fairly big cliffhanger in this story involving the vampires and just this caste system that they have, how the ruling class are able to continue to rule and what they do to maintain that. If you've read the book, maybe that I would almost feel like maybe that's a little bit of a spoiler, so I'll just kind of leave that there. I think overall, I would probably give this a 3 out of 5 on a star rating system. It was, again, it was a read where I wanted to finish it. I didn't want to drop the book, but I didn't always feel super engaged, super drawn to it. There were some parts where it was just let's get through this to the next, but again, overall, I liked it enough where I will continue the series when it comes out. So that is what I've got for you today on the book Lightfall by Ed Crocker, book 1 of the Everlands. If you've read it as well, let me know what you think of it. If you disagree with that or agree, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it and engage with you that way. So thank you again, everybody. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.